You know, when we hear the word storytelling, we usually think of entertainment, right? A good book, a great movie. But what if I told you that storytelling isn't just an art form? What if it's one of the most powerful technologies humans have ever invented? One that shapes everything from our brains to our entire world.
To really get this, we have to start with one central question. What is actually happening inside your brain when you get completely lost in a story? Well, the answer, it turns out, is this incredible mix of ancient history and cutting-edge neuroscience.
Think about this. Before writing, before the wheel, there was the story. It's been our most fundamental tool for survival, for teaching, and, for just connecting with each other for tens of thousands of years.
So if you look at this timeline, you can see how the medium has evolved. But what's truly remarkable is that the core function hasn't changed one bit. The technology got more advanced. We went from cave walls to the printing press, all the way to TikTok. But our deep, fundamental need for a good story has stayed exactly the same.
Okay, so how does this ancient technology actually work its magic on us? Well, spoiler alert, it's not magic at all. It's biology. The power of a great story is literally hardwired directly into our brains.
It all starts with this amazing phenomenon called neural coupling. Neuroscientists at Princeton found that when you're listening to a story, your brain activity actually starts to mirror the brain of the person telling the story. It's like your brains are syncing up, creating this shared experience, almost like a shared neurological heartbeat.
And this is where things get really cool, because it shows how ancient wisdom so often predates modern science. The ancient Sanskrit concept of rasa described this shared emotional flavor, or the essence of a performance. Thousands of years later, neuroscience comes along and identifies mirror neurons, which do pretty much the same thing. They fire when we watch someone else do something. See? Two totally different languages, from totally different eras, describing the exact same human phenomena.
So, what's fueling this incredible connection? Well, it's a three-part neurochemical cocktail. First up, the tension in a story releases cortisol. That's the hook. It grabs your attention and makes you focus. Then, as you start to connect with the characters, your brain releases oxytocin. That's the social bonding hormone. That's what makes you actually care. And finally, as the plot builds, dopamine gets released, creating this craving for a resolution, which makes the ending feel so satisfying and memorable.
So you've got attention, you've got empathy, and you've got reward. That whole chemical cascade, it leads to this. A single, really powerful number. 22 times.
And here's what that number means. A fact is 22 times more likely to be remembered if it's wrapped inside a story. Why? Because the story gives that fact an emotional tag. It activates more of your brain and uses that chemical cocktail we just talked about, basically searing the information into your memory.
And this quote just nails it perfectly. I could tell you the technical definition of gravity, but what do you instantly picture? An apple hitting Isaac Newton on the head, right? That little story, that simple image, is what makes a huge abstract idea unforgettable. The story gives the fact a place to live inside our minds.
Now, what's fascinating is that this powerful mechanism doesn't just work for stories we hear from other people. Nope, it's the exact same process our brains use to make sense of ourselves. Psychologists have a name for this: our narrative identity. You see, we are all natural-born storytellers, and the single most important story we will ever tell is the one we tell about ourselves. It's how we create a coherent sense of who we are.
Just think about it for a second. Your brain takes all the messy, scattered events of your life, and it weaves them into a unified story. This personal narrative is what helps us make sense of our past, understand what's happening right now, and imagine our future. It's the very thing that gives our lives a sense of purpose. And this process, it doesn't just stop with us as individuals. The very same mechanics our brain uses to build our personal identity are used on a massive scale to shape cultures, nations, and even global movements.
This is because a story acts like a lens. It doesn't just show us reality, it actively bends it for us. The lens you choose determines everything, whether you see an event as heroic or tragic. The facts underneath might be the same, but the story, well, the story changes it all.
And here's a perfect example of what we mean by framing.
Are a group's actions heroic resistance, or are they violent insurgency? The words we choose are not neutral. They're narrative choices that are designed to guide our judgment and our emotional response. This is the power of a story in action.
You know, it's the classic question. Do you persuade people with logic or with emotion? With the head or the heart? Well, studies have shown time and time again that while facts are great for our logical brain, stories hit us right in the heart. And more often than not, the heart wins. A story takes a dry statistic and gives it a human face, which makes it so much harder to ignore.
The ancient Greeks were all over this. Aristotle identified 3 core appeals of persuasion, and a really great story, it seamlessly combines all 3. Ethos builds trust in the person telling the story. Pathos creates that crucial emotional connection. And logos? Well, that provides the facts, but it embeds them inside the narrative to give them real weight and meaning.
And you see this everywhere once you start looking. Historically, Mahatma Gandhi brilliantly framed India's freedom struggle as a modern-day Ramayana. Social movements create these powerful stories of us versus them. And today, even YouTubers simplify complex topics to shape public opinion, and brands like Spotify turn our own data into a story that we can't wait to share.
And this is a really important but. This incredible power to shape how people think and feel, it comes with a massive responsibility. Because the same exact tools that can be used to inspire and connect people can also be used to mislead and manipulate them.
Take a look at this. This is a pretty famous or maybe infamous example. It's a chart showing daily COVID-19 cases in Georgia. Now here's the crazy part. Every single number on this chart is accurate. The facts are correct. But look closely. The dates on the bottom are not in order. They've been rearranged to make it look like there's a steady decline. So by changing the narrative, the order of the story, they told a completely misleading tale without technically lying. That shows you just how powerful framing a story can be.
So all of this leads to a really crucial point. If stories are this powerful, if they can literally rewire our brains and shape our reality, then we have a pretty profound responsibility for how we use them.
Because at the end of the day, stories are humanity's most powerful invention. They are a tool. And just like any tool, they can be used for good or for ill. They have the power to bring us together or to tear us apart, to open our eyes or to completely blind us.
And this leaves us with one final thought. We aren't just consumers of stories. Every single one of us is an author. We craft narratives about ourselves, our communities, and our world every single day. So the only real question left is this: what stories will we choose to tell?